All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give all praise and glory to
YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Makakwadash.
Double honors to the elders, the apostles of great millstone that taught us this truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe, and the elect begins with 144,000. Yahawah, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah, BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, the Makakwadash, Holy Spirit. For the brothers of the great millstone Chicago camp, I'm brother I want to be joined with.
My body.
Come back at you brothers and sisters at a household of faith. Damn, 144. Come back at you brothers and sisters at a household of faith.
Another one. Salakia. That was 1447.
Yeah, coming back at you brothers and sisters at a household of faith of the Hopeful Right Select with another lesson. And Lord willing, we hope this lesson be edifying through the spirit of power. YAHAWASHI. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. Just to say real quick, that'd be a uplift when we see 144. You know, but yeah, we're just gonna entitle this lesson. It was over before it even started. I had did a part one to this lesson yesterday. Camera ended up cutting off or whatnot. But essentially going into the fact that Esau, he don't think he's gonna fulfill his NWO agenda. But ultimately, it was YAHAWASHI to set this devil up in the first place, man. It's already written in scripture that ultimately that this devil is gonna fail in everything he's trying to attempt, man. And we know that he's trying to ultimately microchip the whole world and ultimately proclaim himself as the Most High upon this planet. But it's already written that this devil will fall, man. It's already written in prophecy that this devil will fall, and there's several scriptures to prove that, man. And I was messing with ChatGPT, yesterday about that, man.
I want to read it for you.
Yeah, Bible Bashar, if you can.
All right, so this is the brother's conversation with ChatGPT. It says, "What will be the end of the Edomites according to Scripture?" ChatGPT says, "According to the Bible, Edom's end is described as complete judgment, desolation, and loss of national identity, mainly because of pride and violence against Israel."
Yep. Hey, Ezekiel 35, you can have that on deck too, because thou perpetual hatred, thou shalt be cut off. And that's ultimately what these devils have done, against the nation of Israel, man. The perpetual hatred. Even Elder Malcolm goes into it a lot, man. I have a few on my channel that goes into Esau's murderous history, man. The different atrocities that he has done to the northern and the southern kingdom, man. What he has, is continuing to do to this very day. How he's ultimately trying to proclaim himself as the Most High, above the nation of Israel, man. And ultimately he's going to fail, man.
And that's that hatred for his brother Jacob.
That's right.
It says right here, Obadiah, just like Cain, it's Obadiah 1:10. "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever." Salaki, if I should have started at verse 9.
Yeah. No, you start at verse 9.
And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of Mount Esau may be cut off by slaughter.
And that's what's going to happen, man. Isaiah 14 talks about, it talks about son or nephew.
Prepare slaughter
for his children. Obadiah 1:18. We're going to read that in a second. It talks about, Esau is going to ultimately be eradicated, man.
That's right.
This devil thinks, he's going to fulfill his NWO agenda, man, but it's ultimately going to come to naught, man.
Right.
His end, he shall be cut off by slaughter, man.
Yep. Just to read that last part again. "To the end that every one of Mount Esau may be cut off by slaughter."
Yeah, cut off by slaughter, man. So after this devil serves his 1,000 years of captivity, he's going to be eradicated off the planet Earth, man.
All right, verse 10. "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever."
Right, violence against thy brother Jacob. Who is Jacob, man? Whose name was eventually changed to Israel. Had
12 sons.
12 sons, had so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. What is this guy doing? But yeah, ultimately, throughout history, man, even going back to all the way to the Esau's first rulership, man, the Greeks. Starting with Alexander the Greek, man. How ultimately they put hell upon our people. Then you had Antiochus Epiphanes. How ultimately our people went through it under the hands of these devil, man. You got the ancient Roman Empire, man. Our people serving hardcore captivity under these devils. And the second leg of the Roman Empire, which is America, man. You find our people, lynched on trees to this very day. Esau Edom has to pay for that, man. And Colossians 3:25 says what? He that doeth wrong must receive for the wrong that he has done.
There's no respect of persons.
There's no respect of persons. Exactly right.
If I may, Spirit, because Kadashi just posted this in the chat. This is picture lynching photography of the photography that they took of these lynchings that the Edomites did on Israelites, on Jake. See, so that's Obadiah 1 and 10. This is Obadiah 1 and 10 right here. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob. All right. Shame shall cover thee. All right.
Hey, real quick, I know some more to that Obadiah. You grab, just to back up that verse 10 in that Obadiah, you grab Ezekiel 35 and verse 5.
Ezekiel 35 and 5. Because, it's like, I was just like, verse 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahawah, the Lord Yahawah, I will prepare unto thee blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee.
Right, that's what these devils has been doing to our people for the longest. Going into that word perpetual, continued hatred that hatred that he has for our people, man.
Nope.
Even to this very day, man. It goes all the way back to what? You can go all the way back to Cain and Abel. When Esau came back, ultimately he sold his birthright to Jacob. What did Esau end up saying? This day I will slay my brother Jacob. That spirit is still in these Edomites today, man. How ultimately want to slay us, man. It goes all the way back to what? The birthright, man. Esau is trying to proclaim his birthright back. But he ultimately thinking him getting rid of the children of Israel, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and speckled birds, that he can ultimately get his birthright back, man. He's ultimately trying to do that on left-handed means by ultimately what? His RFID chip, those left-handed miracles, just was that like
even the also the blessing too.
Yep.
Because Jacob got the birthright when they were in the field, and then he got the blessing, right?
Yep.
When Isaac was old and gave the blessings to his son.
Yep. And what Esau is blessing is nothing but a temporary blessing, man. Because in Genesis 27 chapter, how when ultimately Isaac blessed Jacob with that blessing, it says what?
Dwelling will be the fatness of the earth, and you will live by your sword.
Yeah, by the sword. And how will he ultimately acquire these different lands, man? By the way of the sword, man. He was only going to acquire, these different lands by the way of the sword for a short means, man. Because it talks about, he has bounds that he cannot pass, man.
It says the scripture says the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment.
Job 20.
And you want that?
Con.
Okay, I'm gonna get it. Job 20.
I believe it's Job 20 and 5.
Yeah, that's a big heavy chapter.
And the precept to that one is in Job 18. Job is a heavy book in itself, man.
Job 18 and the whole chapter, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It shall darkness in his tabernacle.
God, the calamity. Yeah, it says the calamities of the wicked.
Yep.
But this is Job 20, which also says the portion of the state and portion of the wicked. So verse 4 says, knowest not thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment.
Right, only but for a moment, man. Esau, because he even talks about it. I believe that's the book of Revelation. He shall continue on the short season.
Right, he shall be loose for a little season.
He shall be loose for a little season, the water, brother. And that's
to deceive the four corners of the earth.
Because ultimately, when this devil came back into power during the Renaissance and the book of Malachi, the first chapter, that rebirth, he was only going to rule for a short period of time, man. So prophecy can be fulfilled, And that's what ultimately YAHAWASHI is doing right now, man. He's ultimately using this devil to further along prophecy, man. He's ultimately going to take them down. Because these Edomites is at the height of their pride right now. Just look at Donald Trump. Just look at these elites, man.
I mean, it says the next verse says it. The next verse says it. Job 26. All right, because we're talking about the wicked, the nation of Edom. It says, verse 6, though his excellency mounts up to the heavens and his head reach unto the clouds. All right, now that's going to go into his latter end. Yet shall he perish forever like his own dung, they which have seen, right? It says, verse 7, yet he shall perish forever, like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? He shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night.
Right, so it's ultimately this whole seed line is going to be eradicated, man. There's not going to be any more Edomites after that 1,000 years of hardcore captivity under the Israelites, man. You know, because ultimately, what you grab that back in Obadiah, was that 1 and 18? You know, ultimately, this whole line is going to be eradicated, man. You know, this is Esau's last hurrah.
Right.
You know,
you won't be able to find him.
Yep.
They'll say, where is he?
Yeah, where is he? You know, it's going to be a tale we tell our children.
Right.
Our children's children. You know.
Right. No, that's heavy. Salaki, I would try to grab the book of Obadiah. You know how it be, that one page. So it's Obadiah 1. You want me to get to 18?
Yeah, if you want to start up, if it's in your spirit to start up, you can.
Okay, this is Obadiah 1 and 17. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahawah had spoken it.
Right, so ultimately after that 1,000 years of captivity, man, the line of Esau is going to be cut off, man. You know, you know, while we at that point, now you can just read a little bit more, you know, because the scriptures we touched upon for the ChatGPT, the scriptures that we touched upon, it actually talks about that, man. You know, Esau's total destruction.
All right.
You know, Esau's downfall. You know, ultimately Esau's, complete end, because Esau's the only nation. The Edomites are the only nation that's now promised mercy, man.
Right. He laid his heritage waste.
Yep, for the dragons of the wilderness.
So they, Chad gave us the points. That first point, it says total destruction and desolation. Edom is repeatedly warned that it will be laid waste and become uninhabitable. He just gave us Obadiah 1 and 10 and through 18, which we just read. The Esau being cut off. Then it gives Isaiah 34. Edom is described as becoming a burning wasteland.
Yep. And we know that YAHAWASHI is coming to a world ruled by the Edomites, man.
What, Isaiah?
Yeah, because this ChatGPT already, actually what? These elites all escaped the nuclear destruction. This is into chains in this, right?
Yep. So that's
it's
Psalms,
it was in several, but Psalms
159,
Revelation 6, Jeremiah 6 and 16.
All right, so this Isaiah 34?
Yeah, we get Isaiah 34.
Okay, Isaiah 34. And just to get to the point, verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment.
Right, and Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom, man. And what is that sword? Those missiles, man. That's going to be the end result of Esau's kingdom, man.
Right.
The Lord is going to use these other nations to ultimately do it, starting with Russia. This place is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction, man. Because even in Revelation 17, it talks about that, man. The beast shall hate the whore, shall burn her body with fire.
God, and what does it say in verse 5, man? The people of my curse. Mm-hmm. All right, like the brother mentioned, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI created the nation of Edom to be the sword, the wicked, and ultimately to receive judgment. People of my curse, the Malachi, the people whom the Lord has indignation forever.
Right, because really Esau Edom was created for that said purpose, was to do wickedly, and the Lord is ultimately, just ultimately to teach us a lesson.
Right.
Because what Esau Edom, come up against, Esau Edom coming up against us, bringing us down, spreading the wickedness in the world. It's supposed to be a learning lesson to us Israelites of what not to do.
Right.
And that's what Esau Edom is ultimately, the whole, purpose of Esau Edom, man. And the Lord is ultimately going to get rid of him, because Esau Edom will no longer serve a purpose, man.
Exactly.
After that 1,000 years of captivity, for what he have done to us, the Lord is just going to get rid of him, man. Ultimately that, You ever erase someone with a eraser, man? That's how the Lord is going to do Esau Edom, man. You know, because ultimately, what Esau Edom ultimately, will have served his purpose, man.
That's right, man. It says, continuing on in verse 6, the sword of YAHAWAH is filled with blood. It is made fat with the fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and the fat of the kidneys of rams. For YAHAWAH had a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
Right. This place is going to be nothing but a big sacrifice, man. The entirety of America is going to be on fire, man. All of America is going to be on fire.
Hey, that's going to be a great sacrifice, man. That's why it goes into it. It's made fat with fatness, blood of lambs, the fat of kidneys of rams, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. And all these things, because this is telling you it's going to be,
because America is nothing but an altar, man.
Right.
And the Lord is going to sacrifice this place.
Right. So he continues on, and the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion.
Yeah, for the controversy of Zion, everything that have happened to us, man. Ultimately, even though a small has that's claiming to be us in the land of Israel, man.
That's a big part of it too.
Yeah, that controversy, man. Who are the people of YAHAWASHI? Who are the true Israelites, man?
And everything that happened to the true Israelites.
That's right. Because everything that have happened to us is ultimately undermined. It's not taken accounted for.
And that's all the controversy of Zion.
That's right.
It says that's the year of recompense, the day of Yahweh's vengeance for the controversy of Zion.
Yep.
So verse 9, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch.
Yep. The lands thereof shall become a burning pitch, man, because what ultimately happens to Sodom and Gomorrah is going to be what happens to America on a larger scale, man.
That's right.
This place is not going to be inhabited ever again, man. After those missiles hit this place, man. It talks about America being a desert, man. With nothing but what? Desert creatures that's ultimately inhabited in this place, man.
That's right. And we know this is talking about America because it says Basra, the Edomite stronghold, the land of Idumea,
capital city.
Right. That today would be America, because we understand that Esau is in rulership in the end times.
That's right.
And this was his stronghold, America. So it says in verse 10, it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever.
Right, because this place is going to be nothing but a big desert, man. It talks about that line of confusion. You ain't going to know what Chicago is. You ain't going to know where New Mexico is. You ain't going to know. You can't tell the difference, because everything is going to be a desert here, man. And these elites, ultimately think they're fooling YAHAWASHI by doing things behind the scenes. But ultimately, what? Even in the scriptures, it says what? How can a man understand his own way? We're all programmed to do the will of YAHAWASHI, man. And these devils, the Lord put it in their mind. That's how powerful YAHAWASHI is, man. The Lord put, in these devils, man, that what? They think they're fooling the Most High, man. Because what? Yahweh is the ultimate chess player, man. He's controlling the hearts of the kings, man. Because really, what they're thinking is their new world order is really the new world order of YAHAWASHI, that he ultimately programming their minds to fulfill his will, man. These different things that these elites are trying to do, man. The Lord programmed them to do it, man. But ultimately, what? They're going to fail, man, because it's written in prophecy that they're going to fail, man. Because Jeremiah 51 says, well, we will have healed Babylon, but she is not healed, because what? This place is prophesied to go down, man. Before the world was even created, the Lord already had it written out that this is going to happen, and this is going to be the end result of it.
Is it in Romans 9, right?
I believe so. Let me see. How was it quoted?
Jacob have I loved.
Oh yeah.
Before the children were born.
Yep. Yeah, Romans 9. Yep.
It already
haven't done before having done good evil.
Right. That's Romans 9. I'm gonna just get to the point. Romans 9 and 10, and not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. And it was, right? So
You keep reading that.
it says, it was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger.
Right, going back to what's that, Genesis the 25th chapter, when Jacob and Esau were born.
Mhm.
You know, it's just touching upon that account.
It says, right, see, the elder shall serve the younger. Before they were born, like the brother said, is all predetermined. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
Right, so the Lord ultimately, already had it set up. Who's he's gonna hate, who's he gonna love, who's gonna be the wicked, who's gonna be the righteous. This has already, been ultimately, before the world was created, this have already been formatted and set up, man. It's like when you create a story, right? When a person creates a story, they already have it in their mind, like, yeah, this is gonna be the main protagonist, this is gonna be the main villain, this is how the story gonna ultimately start, this is the middle of the story, character progression, this is how the story ultimately gonna end.
Yeah.
Before you even write the story out, you already have the storyboard, the storyboard characters, what this character is going to do, what this character is going to say, what's going to be the end result of this character. Hey, that's the Most High, man. Ultimately setting everything into place before ultimately even writing it out, man, because the Lord had all these different things set up in place.
He thought about it, right?
Yeah,
it's scripture saying.
Yeah.
Yep. And while you get that, I got this real quick. Sirach 42, because all of creation is a perfect balance.
Yep.
Sirach 42 and 24. All things are double one against another, and he hath made nothing unperfect. One thing establisheth the good of another, and who shall be filled with beholding his glory? Hey, so all things are double one against another. It's balance. Good and evil, Jacob and Esau, light and dark. You can't understand light without darkness, and vice versa. One thing establisheth the good of another.
I believe this might be it right here. This book of John 14 and verse 29. And now I have told you before it comes to pass, that when it comes to pass, ye might believe. So ultimately, the Lord has told us these secret things, related to prophecy of the things that's ultimately going to happen before they happen, man. We understand this by the way of prophecy. We understand, hey, America hasn't been physically destroyed yet, but within prophecy, within scripture, it's have already been written and determined that this place is going to be destroyed, man.
Right, Babylon is falling.
So ultimately what? These things essentially have already happened, man. Esau's fall and fail has already happened, but we're just ultimately what? Playing the things out that's written within the scriptures, so ultimately these things have already happened. So what? We're just waiting to be, to catch up to everything related to prophecy, man.
Was there a scripture where it said the Lord, before he created it, everything he thought about, he thought about it. He thought about everything.
Let me see real quick. It is. Let me see. I forget exactly where it's at. Let me see.
It's in Sirach. Maybe it's in Wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah, because ultimately what? The Lord has already, set out these things that happen before they actually happen. Yeah, I forget off the top of my head where it's at.
Yeah, kind of. Lord willing, we can.
But Lord willing, it comes back up or whatnot. But ultimately, Esau's fall, has already been determined, man. That ultimately these elite banking families are going to lose, man. Things of that nature. That what the elect is going to be raised up to ultimately to go after these, said elites, man. I got one to back you up real quick, relating to Esau's fall. This is the book of Revelation 6, and verse 13. It says, "And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken up by mighty wind." Right, talking about those missiles, man. Because what? America is ultimately going to be destroyed by those missiles. Jeremiah 51. It talks about the besom of destruction in Isaiah. And it's and it reads, she is shaken of a mighty wind, which is that thermonuclear fire, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Right, because this devastation is going to be so heavy. Because it even talks about the great earthquake in Isaiah 24. This place shall rattle to and fro like a drunkard.
Yep.
It says, in the kings of the earth. And who are the kings of the earth, man? You would say your presidents and things like that, but the true kings of the earth are these elite banking families. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. Because what? These elites got these underground bunkers. They got under bunkers, hidden within these different mountains, under the water, in high places. It said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb being YAHAWASHI. You can read about that in John, the 1st chapter, man. Ultimately what? John the Baptist was ultimately, prophesying about YAHAWASHI, man.
Oh, man.
Yep. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So in this Revelation 6, especially verse 16, we're reading about the Esau's fall, man, before it actually even happened yet. We're reading about what Esau fell before it even happened, man. So it's already written that these devils ultimately is going to fail, man. Yep. Before it even started, man, these devils already failed.
And the elect already won.
Yep, already won. Yep.
Psalms 37. What's that? Psalms 37. It says he set them in slippery places.
Let me see. Slippery places.
That might be Psalm 17.
Let me see. Can I grab it? Psalms 73. Yep.
Oh, that's what it is?
Yep. Let me see. Can I actually start up? Let me get to the point. Psalms 73 and verse 18. It says, surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castest them down into destruction. Right? Because ultimately these different things that these elites are trying to do, they're going to fall into their own trap, man. Because the Lord is setting them up for failure. And it says what? It says, thou castest them down into destruction. What's going to be the end result of this devil's kingdom, man? Ultimately what? Thermonuclear destruction, 1,000 years of captivity, and ultimately eradication, as we read in that Obadiah 1 and 18, man.
It says, thou didst set them in slippery places. Yeah. What do the elders always say, man? That the Lord puts Esau in a trick bag.
Mm-hmm.
He set them in slippery places. See? That's like if you were trying to climb up a mountain and it was just icy.
Yep.
You just slipping everywhere. Like
they didn't expect it. Yep. Ultimately falling in their own trap, man.
Yeah, bro. Kinda. It's let
me grab that Psalms 149.
Okay. Yeah, verse 19. How are they brought into desolation as in a moment? They are utterly consumed with terrors.
Right, utterly consumed with terror. Because in Revelations 18, it says this place is going to be destroyed in 1 hour. Hey, just like that, man. After all the bloodshed, it took several years for this devil to establish this kingdom about rape, robbery, and murder. It's going to take the Lord 1 hour to destroy this place, man. So, hey, through the rape, robbery, and murder that this place was built, it's going to be as fast as this place falls, man. In 1 hour, as the scriptures say.
That's right, man. Because something that see, that's the difference between Esau and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
See, something that you get instantly,
yep.
It doesn't last. But something that you get the correct way, and that's built ultimately on the foundation, which is YAHAWASHI.
Yeah, we read in that Job 20 that the triumph of the wicked is short, that the joy of a hypocrite but for a moment. So ultimately, as quickly as Esau came into power, as quickly, even more fast, he's going to fall, man.
He's gonna go out.
But this is the book of Psalms 149 and verse 5. It says, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of Yahweh be in their mouth, and the two-edged sword in their hand. Right, we're literally going to have a two-edged sword in our hand. And when the Lord raises up his elect, Lord, when we be of that number, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and the punishments upon the people. Right, the Lord is going to pay these heathens back, man. Jeremiah 30 and verse 16 is a good chapter. To go into, man. Hey, basically all they that devour thee shall be devoured. Every last one of them shall go into captivity. It says to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron.
That's what the brother talked about earlier with these elites, these elite bankers, the top guys. They're going to hide out in bunkers.
Yeah, but ultimately what? You can grab that, I believe it's Jeremiah 16, you know, how the Lord is going to, raise his elect up into hunters. And it says, to execute upon the judgment written, this honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahawah. And that's what we're going to do, man. We're going to bind their kings up, with chains, man. Wow. Because it happened to our kings. It happened to, it happened to all of us, man. Yeah. Even the kings, because we collectively went down into captivity, man. The Lord deals with people as a whole nation, God. He doesn't deal with individuality, man. He deals with, the people as a whole.
On a judgment level, on a nation level.
Yep, and that's what's going to happen to these Edomites, beginning with these top banking families, man, who are small hats,
Yeah, man. So that's Psalms 149. And then here's a precept, Jeremiah 16 and 16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Yahawah, and they shall fish them. That's what we're doing now. We're teaching the word.
Yep.
So it says, and after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks.
Right. So the Lord is going to endow his men with spiritual power, and those same men, who, we've been mocked, we've been ridiculed, those same men, especially with these elites, talk down about, man. The Lord is going to bless us with spiritual power. Lord will be of the elect. And ultimately, we're going to hunt these devils down, man. Wherever their hiding spot is, I read in that Revelation 6, they said, let the rocks fall upon us, because they don't want to face what they done, man. Because they want a quick escape, man. They want to basically back out of everything they have done, man.
Yeah.
They did all this rape, robbery, and murder, treating our people badly, man. They want to escape, but they're not going to escape this judgment, man. They're going to surely drink of this cup, because we had to surely drink of the cup, man. Let me actually grab one real quick. This came to mind. Let me grab this. I actually didn't bring this out in a minute. This is the book of Lamentations 4:21. It says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup, what is the cup? The cup of slavery, the cup of the curses. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked, right? Because this devil is being exposed on a high scale right now, man. Even I had watched a piece of Elder Apostle Gabar's live stream. He said every brother is going into the fact that going into these elites, man, how they're being exposed, man. Information is coming up.
Because Yahawashi said that everything hidden will be revealed.
That's right. And it reads, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins, right? Because the judgment of Esau Edom is upon us, man. Everything that he has done, the Lord is beginning to visit him, man. And it's beginning with what? The curse is coming upon him, man. His woman ultimately hates him, man. His people as a whole is not being prosperous in the land that they ultimately capitalize, rape, rob, and murder, to ultimately to acquire it. They're ultimately losing. They're becoming the scum of the earth now, man. And this is what we're currently seeing, man. Ultimately, the roles are beginning to change.
Yep. Kingdom is transferred from one people to another.
Yep. You have somebody by you?
Yeah, real quick. That's Isaiah 40:1. Comfort ye, my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of Yahawah's hand double for all of her sins. So yeah, we're speaking comfortably unto Jerusalem. You Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, speckled birds. We're speaking comfortably unto you. We're letting you know that why are these things happening in the earth? What does this mean? What is the end result pursuant to the unchangeable word of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI? And that our warfare is pretty much accomplished, through Yahawashi's sacrifice, and also, the elect has to make a sacrifice, present their body as a living sacrifice.
Romans 12,
So this is a comfortable words being, sung to Jerusalem.
Yeah, Khan. And ultimately, the scriptures even talks about what's that in Baruch? It says, "Miserable are the cities that afflicted thee." And if you continue to read, I believe that's Baruch 4. It talks about how the Lord is going to raise us up, ultimately heal us, man, and ultimately pay back the heathen, man, beginning with these Edomites. Miserable are the cities that afflicted us, man. We shall soon see their fall, man, and that's what we're seeing right now, man. What's that? Sirach 25 says, he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. So hey, we're living in beautiful times, man. So hey, we can grab. I'm gonna grab this last one up. This comes to mind. You can grab that in Job too. Also, we can grab these. It talks about when he's about to fill his belly. Let me grab this real quick. This is the book of Job 14:5. It says, "Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass." So it's only so far that this devil is allowed to go, that the Lord YAHAWASHI is going to let this devil go, man. We was talking about the New World Order, him chipping everybody. It's only so far he can go with that, man. The Lord has a day, a time, and an hour, and a minute, and a second where this devil is going to go down, man.
Who's that? Job 20? Salakia.
I believe it's Job 2.
Job 2?
Yeah. It talks about is it Job 20 or Job 2 when he's about to fill his belly?
Job 2 is like when Job is still getting chastised and everything in the beginning.
Let me see. I'm thinking about Job 20. I said Job 2. Job 20 and 23.
Oh, okay, Khan.
I don't know why I had Job 2 in mind.
Khan, that's a lot in Job.
Yeah.
For Job 20 and 22, in the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him.
Right, every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. We're going to that word wicked goes into the word imal, which is the working class, the laborer. And that's what we're seeing right now, man. Because a lot of these people is being fucked over with their wages.
Right.
Ultimately, the working class is coming against the government, against Esau Edom, man.
Right. Basically the ones he's afflicting.
Yeah. Yep.
It says, when he is about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So
when he's almost in that comfortable position, when he's about to get satisfied, the Lord is going to yank it away from him, man.
And that's that trick bag again.
Hey, you know how you've been making food all day, man? Yep, you've been making food all day. You've been seasoning it. It smells good. You put it in the microwave, not microwave, but the oven for a good 5 hours. You rub your hands together and shit. Got the sides. But also, when you put on the table and the whole table collapses, your meal is just fucked up. And that's what it's going to be with these devils, man. It's going to be yanked away from them, man. Hey, all this, time they've been planning, actively, scheming behind the scenes is going to be taken away from them, man.
It says their hope is vain.
Yep.
Right there. Their hope is vain. Yep. The world is not going to be established in wickedness. That's not how it's written.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen.
Hey, so they failed before it even started, man. But that's pretty much all I had. Anything you had, brother?
That's all.
So with that being said, we hope this lesson was edifying. We end up giving our praise and glory to
YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM,
YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone taught us truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord, we hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Kwam Yasharallah, Shalom, and Ababa Ball.
Shalom, Ababa Ball. Kwam Yasharallah.
Kwam Yasharallah.